Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel, All That Jazz. So, everyone hears the word wormhole and immediately thinks one thing: time travel. Fans assume Vecna is going to use the 12 kids to power a wormhole, go back in time, change the past, and erase everything we've watched for the last 5 seasons. But what if that's completely wrong? What if the wormhole in Stranger Things was never about changing history at all? What if the show has been telling us the entire time what needs to be done to end all of this? What if the first shadow play gives us more insight than we realized? And if a wrinkle in time is the blueprint, then wormholes don't fix the past, they let you move through it. Season after season, the group keeps trying to win the same way: attack Vecna, burn them, burn the hive, kill them. And season after season, it works, but only for a moment. The Mind Flayer and Vecna always come back stronger. But here's what's interesting: every real victory in this show happens the same way. Let's go back to season 2. The season the Mind Flayer finally is able to possess Will. The Mind Flayer successfully used him as a spy. Now, in order to sever the connection, Joyce didn't have to use force. So how did he escape? Not through violence, not through power, but through what? Love. And she doesn't do it alone. Jonathan is there, Mike is there. They speak their own memories to Will. They remind Will who he is. They remind him he is loved. They remind him he matters. And the hold breaks. Not erased, but broken. That distinction matters. Season 3 gives us the clearest proof. 11 doesn't overpower Billy. She doesn't attack him or fight him. She reaches him. She reminds him of his mother, the memories Billy has of her, the way she looked, how much she loved him, and for the first time, the Mind Flayer loses control. Billy chooses to protect 11 and sacrifices himself instead. It does break its hold, proving once again love or an act of it or some kind of memory of it causes the connection to break. Then comes Max in season 4. Vecna gets her fully, and she escapes because of music. But not just any song, the one song that can trigger all of the memories she has with the people she loves and who love her. Kate Bush's Running Up the Hill isn't a weapon, it's an anchor. She remembers she is cared for, she remembers she's loved and is able to escape. In the season finale, 11 breaks free from the vines only after Mike finally tells her the truth and expresses his love for her, and that matters. All the memories Mike spoke, along with him expressing his love for 11, gave her the power to fight back and break the hold, proving again love is the key. In season 5, we learn something crucial. Max almost escapes again because Lucas is still there, still at the hospital by her side, still loving her and still playing that song, creating an opening, a chance for Max to escape. When the tape stops, the opening to escape closes. And though Max wasn't able to make it in time, it still proves Lucas' love for Max was strong enough to open a door for her to get back to her physical body, for her to finally get back home. Now let's go back even further to the first shadow play, back to November 6th, 1959, the day Henry lost control, the day the Mind Flayer fully took hold, the day he killed his mother and sister, the day he stopped fighting and went with Brenner willingly, the day he lost Patty, the person who loved him the most, the one person who not only believed in Henry, but believed he could be good. The first shadow changes not only how we see November 6th, but also how we see Henry. Henry wasn't born evil. He was trying to be good. He was trying to fight back against the Mind Flayer, and he almost won that battle. Patty proves this. She broke the Mind Flayer's control over him briefly by reminding him he is good, and by telling him she loves him. When Henry says it back, the control breaks, not permanently, but enough to prove something crucial. The hold was never absolute, and the only way to break the hold is through what? Love. Season 5 reveals something about Henry that feels very deliberate. When Max runs away and takes refuge in the cave, and Henry stops, he doesn't attack, he cries, and he looks mortified. We learn in the first shadow that the cave is significant because that is where Henry was first transported to Dimension X as a child. The cave isn't just a location, it's the birthplace of trauma. The place where Henry first encountered the Mind Flayer. The place where the good version of him was lost, but not destroyed. You don't show that unless it matters. That tells us his mind is not a single unified villain, and he still has some memory of himself if that cave invokes that much fear and pain. Which then makes me wonder, will the connection between the Mind Flayer and Henry have to be severed first? Have to be severed before the group can do anything? Now here's the problem none of the fans are picking up on, and the group hasn't either, just based off of their plan to attack, hunt, and kill Vecna season after season. Will still feels pain when the hive is attacked. We see that in the Sorcerer episode after the Demogorgons are burned alive. Vecna, Will, and the Mind Flayer are all still connected, which means there is a great possibility killing Vecna could mean killing Will. That's why the ending can't be about destruction. It has to be about severing the connection between the Mind Flayer and Henry/Vecna/1. And we already know that connection can be severed because it already has been, not with Henry, but with Will. As I mentioned before, in season 2, Will wasn't just possessed, he was integrated into the hive. And Joyce, Jonathan, and Mike were only able to reach Will when they reminded him of the moments and the memories where he was loved. And though those memories weren't able to flat out destroy the Mind Flayer, they were able to break its hold. And later on, those same memories become a pathway. In season 5, those were the same memories that unlocked Will's powers. Will doesn't escape the hive by rejecting it. He survives it by remembering who he is, which tells us something crucial. If the Mind Flayer's bond with Will could be weakened, then the bond with Henry can be too. And if severing the connection saved Will once, what if severing the connection the Mind Flayer has over Henry ends everything? And that's what makes this next detail impossible to ignore. Henry gifts Holly with a cassette player and a cassette tape of the pop star Tiffany's self-entitled album, I Think We're Alone Now. We've learned that music saved Max in the past, and it helped anchor Will. And Henry knows this, which means this wasn't random. It suggests there's still a part of him that remembers what music does, what a memory does, and what love can interrupt. Not enough to free himself, but maybe enough to leave someone else a way out. And that idea isn't new. In fact, Stranger Things already told us where it comes from. The book Holly is reading isn't a background detail. A Wrinkle in Time is the instruction manual, the blueprint. Not only is the book foreshadowing the possible ending for Stranger Things 5, but it is also the blueprint on how wormholes could come into play in Volume 2. A Wrinkle in Time follows awkward teenager Meg Murray, her genius little brother Charles Wallace, and their friend Calvin O'Keefe on their cosmic journey to rescue Meg's missing scientist father, who disappeared after working on a mysterious project involving time travel. Guided by celestial beings, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch, they use a tesseract, a wrinkle in time and space, to travel across galaxies, battling a dark evil force called It that seeks to control the universe through conformity. Ultimately, Meg must overcome her insecurities and use the power of love to save her brother and father from It's clutches, embracing her unique self in the process. A Wrinkle in Time ends on a hopeful but bittersweet note. The defeat of It doesn't come from force or intelligence, but from Meg realizing her greatest power is love. The family is reunited, but the book makes it clear: evil still exists. It just lost this battle. The final message is that love, individuality, and connection are what push back against overwhelming hive mind darkness, not domination or control. Now, how does this connect with Stranger Things? Well, you have It, a disembodied cosmic intelligence, exists as a brain-like entity, controls through sameness, fear, and submission, uses a hive mind, cannot be defeated by strength or intelligence, is weakened by love, individuality, and emotional connection. Now let's go to the Mind Flayer, a formless cosmic presence, exists as particles or shadow before taking shape, controls through fear, trauma, and possession, operates as a hive mind, cannot be permanently defeated by violence alone, and is repeatedly disrupted by emotional bonds, i.e. Elle and Mike, Max and her memories, Max and Lucas, Will and the love he has for his friends and that his friends has for him. In both stories, the villain is ancient, impersonal, and threatened by human connection. That parallel alone makes the book choice deliberate. So why is Holly reading this in Stranger Things 5? Because thematically, it tells us how this ends, not who wins. The final victory won't be about killing Vecna. It'll be about breaking the connection the Mind Flayer has to Vecna/Henry/1. And if that's true, then Wormholes can't be about changing the past. They have to be about reaching something. Or someone. Fans think wormhole and think time travel. But A Wrinkle in Time does not use wormholes to change history. They don't go back in time. They go through space, layers, and consciousness. The wormhole exists for one purpose: access, not alteration. Think Dimension X, the Upside Down, Henry's Mindscape, and the Right Side Up. The wormhole connects all four simultaneously. That's not time travel, that's total exposure. That's the lesson most fans are missing. While the book mentions traveling through space and time, it functions more like a wormhole or space warp. The goal is to reach planet Camazotz to save Meg's dad, not to travel to a different era to erase and or fix history. In A Wrinkle in Time, the wormhole doesn't exist to change time. It exists so love can reach places it otherwise couldn't. And this is why I don't believe Stranger Things will ever undo the past. Because changing it doesn't just erase the pain, it erases the growth. Let's take Steve, for example. Steve was never supposed to be the guy we love. He started out selfish, careless, and cruel in ways we didn't understand yet. But everything that happened after Will went missing, the fear, the guilt, the consequences, forced him to change. Those experiences shaped him. They humbled him. They turned him into a protector, the leader, the person who shows up every single season. If you change the past, you don't just save people, you erase who they are. Stranger Things isn't about fixing what went wrong. It's about surviving it and becoming somewhat better because of it. So no, I don't think the wormhole is going to be used to go back in time and to change anything. Nor do I think it's going to be Vecna who's using the wormhole. So what if Mr. Clark's wormhole lesson is for Max and Holly? In A Wrinkle in Time, a tesseract is a shortcut through time and space, allowing instantaneous travel across vast distances by wrinkling the fabric of the universe, like folding a piece of paper to bring two far apart points together. In the Volume 2 trailer, we see Max and Holly walking through multiple doors and traveling through multiple locations. At some point, we see Max stepping into Holly's room from what looks like the merry-go-round at the school playground. Okay, so really fast to give you the example of what I'm talking about. So, see Holly on this little merry-go-round at the playground at her school. I think this little opening thing right here, this is the doorway that Max is using to step from the playground into Holly's room in the trailer. We also see Max and Holly walking through a doorway from an open field. Is that not traveling through two faraway points that have been brought together? Those aren't time rips. Those are memory corridors, paths through Henry's mind, paths to places where love once existed. Now there's one moment in the trailer that changes how I see everything. We see Henry in the same place as Holly, and suddenly he starts to glitch. He shifts between Mr. What's-It, the lab version of himself Brenner controlled, and eventually he turns into Vecna. In A Wrinkle in Time, traveling through a tesseract is described as physically and mentally destabilizing, especially when someone is stretched across multiple realities at once. What if this is the moment he feels it? The moment control starts to fail and he can no longer hide Mr. What's-It to Holly. The moment the layers he's been hiding behind can no longer hold it together. This is exactly what it looks like if someone whose mind is split across multiple identities is suddenly exposed to overlapping layers of memories, dimension, and consciousness. Stranger Things has never been a story about winning a war. It's been about surviving one. From the beginning, the pattern has been there. Not power, not strength, not violence, but connection. Every season, the group loses first. They fight back, they burn, they attack the monster head on. And every season, that strategy fails. Because the Mind Flayer doesn't fear force. It feeds on it. What it can't withstand, it's love. That's what saves Will in Season 2. That's what breaks through to Billy in Season 3. That's what pulls Max back in Season 4. And it's what briefly saved Henry in The First Shadow. Not forever, but long enough to prove something important. Henry wasn't born a monster. He was shaped by isolation, manipulated by Brenner, and consumed by something far older than him. But the good part of him may still be reachable. That's why Vecna isn't just the villain. He's a warning. And that's why the ending can't be about destruction. It's about severing the connection, breaking the signal. And that's what brings us to Wormholes. Because Wormholes and Stranger Things were never about going backward. They're not resets, they're not do-overs, they're access points. Ways to move through space, memory, and consciousness, to reach places that are sealed off by trauma. Just like in A Wrinkle in Time, Meg doesn't defeat it by overpowering it. She frees her brother by reaching him, by walking into darkness and refusing to let go of love. That's the blueprint. Max and Holly don't move through time. They move through him, through Henry's memories, through places he once was loved, through the fractures where the Mind Flayer took hold. And when those layers collide, when memory, dimension, and identity overlap, even Vecna begins to glitch. Because the monster can't hold its shape when the human underneath is exposed. Now, I still think the merge happens, the red orb matters, and the final monster is still coming. The group still loses badly before they win, but the ending doesn't come from killing Vecna. It comes from breaking the signal, separating the hive, freeing the mind trapped at its center. Maybe that means Henry survives. Maybe that means he doesn't. But either way, the Mind Flayer loses the one thing it needs to exist: control. Stranger Things doesn't end with the upside down just being erased. It ends with something far more dangerous to a hive mind: individuality, memory, and love. Because love is one force the universe has proven again and again that darkness can't fully consume. And it's been the answer the entire time. Okay, guys, so what do you think? Could severing the tie between Henry and the Mind Flayer be the key to ending it all? Is love the key and the end game? Let me know your thoughts and theories in the comments. And honestly, thank you guys so much for all the love, the likes, the comments, and even your theories that you share with me in every single video. If you've enjoyed this one, please make a time to like, comment, share, subscribe. It really does help the channel more than you know. And as always, stay curious and stay out the upside down.